Hello, my name is Chitra. Today I wanna present my presentation about an analysis class conflict in the lottery. For the first introduction, The Lottery is a short story by Shirley Jackson, first published on June 16, 1948 in the New York Magazine. The short story is considered one of the most famous short stories in the history of American literature and is described as horrible and horrifying. The story is accepted as one of America's classic short films. The short story tells the atmosphere of a village where a lottery will be held, which is held every June 27. From children to the elderly gather in place like village held to carry out the traditional village routine since they ancestors. The story is a great example of what happens when society is radically divided between two classes. When the rich are given absolute power, it is in their nature to dominate the pro, prolet, proletariat using the tactic of fear and manipulation. The proletariat is then left unable to think for itself, mindlessly continuing its work through his characterization of upper and lower classes, as well as pointing out the extreme difficulties faced in pursuing social change. And then theoretical review. The theory of Marxism is a social, political, and economic philosophy named after Karl Marx. This formulation and argues that all mental ideologies systems are a product of real social and economic existence. In the dialectical record of Marx's history is the idea that the social extent of a particular individual is determined by a large political and economic power. In simple terms, the social class into which a person is born determines view and viewpoints. Marx then extended this concept of determination into the central concept of Marxism, that is the base and the superstructure. In terms of ideology, Marx believed that because the base determines the superstructure, it supports the basic ideology. Ideology is the changing ideas. And then analysis. Short story, The Lottery is a chilling example of what happens when society can only distinguish between two classes, specifically the oppressed working class and the rich ruling class, or one might say there is class division. This is made clear enough in the characterization of the upper class as well as the lower class, and their effect on social change due to class differences. Mr. Summer is the owner of the coal company. He is also the village head. Perhaps he had never worked a day in his life, leaving him out of touch with the needs and struggle of the people. He was given absolute power over the working class, a control of all people activities, and in essence their minds. Mr. Graves is entrusted with some power over the life of the proletariat. He is the second person in power after Mr. Summer. With this, he was given power over life and death as the postmaster. He controls all mail in and out of the village, with control over communications. Mr. Griff also has control over the thought and freedom of expression of the village. Lower class consists of the oppressed workers who cannot think for lack of time and energy. Mrs. Hutchinson was an example. When Mr. Summer finally stopped talking and turned to the gathered villagers, Mrs. Hutchinson come hastily along the road to the square behind the crowd, blithely entering the draw. Mrs. Hutchinson expressed her distaste for community leadership and the lottery. She slid into place. Just as Mr. Summers finished speaking, showing disrespect for his word and ideas. Those who do not rebel against the lottery have the same fare. A sudden silence fell over the crowd as Mr. Summers cleared his throat and looked at the list. Although not explicitly stated from the actions of the villager, we know that they fear the lottery, they fear for their life, left exhausted and ignored by their leader. And in this story, that plays an important role is, of course, people who are in the upper class, such as Mr. Summers and Mr. Grave. This is because they can control everything that surrounds them, including the minds of the working class. They also a lot of time and energy for this lottery activity compared to lower class people. And the last one, conclusion. From the explanation above, we can conclude that in the lottery by Shirley Jackson, this is a terrible example that occurs when society can only distinguish between two classes, especially the oppressed working class and the rich ruling class, or it can be said that there is class division. This is made clear through the characterization of the upper class as well as the lower class and their effect on social change due to class differences. Okay, that's all for my presentation today. Thanks for attention.